1 in 5, or 20% of people living with bipolar disorder will successfully complete suicide. That is a horrifying and tragic statistic. It's a statistic that many bipolar people can probably relate to in some sense when it comes to the struggles of major mood episodes, whether it be depressive or manic. Both episodes can be so damaging and destructive to an individual's livelihood. It doesn't matter how strong or resilient a person may be. The severity of depressive and manic episodes that are found in bipolar can be absolutely catastrophic. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about something that every bipolar person can relate to, and that is the task and struggle and hardship of rebuilding after a manic episode, of trying to piece back together the things that were crushed and destroyed, or to try to find new foundations upon which to construct our lives. In particular, I want to talk about some perspectives of facing the aftermath of mania that have helped me shift my attitude and shape the lens through which I view the world as I face the aftermath of my mania. Because bipolar disorder is a full-time job. The stressors of it are very similar. They resemble the same kind of stressors you would find in any full-time work or overtime capacity. And the strenuous task of rebuilding after mania is one that does not come easy. But before we dive into that, what exactly is mania? Well, mania is a stage of bipolar disorder. It is one of the two major episodes a person can suffer. And during that episode, it's common for a person to have an altered perception, an elevated mood, and high levels of intense, passionate energy. And mania, because of these symptoms of high energy and decreased need for sleep and this loss of touch with reality and the opening to the grandiosity of ideas and thoughts, it really opens up a Pandora's box of problems that present itself both during mania and after mania. So I am someone who just recently had a major manic episode in October of 2021, and it lasted me till about the end of March or early April of 2022. And since that time, I have been in a severe depressive episode. And most recently, I've been sort of shifting between moderate and severe depressive episode because I've finally been able to do some things that I used to be able to enjoy. And that was only as of a few weeks ago. But I was in a severe depressive episode for for years. And it was only weeks ago that I was able to step out of it and start doing things again. And having gone through this experience, there's some things that I learned, some things that I wish I would have told myself, some things that I would tell other people who are coming out of mania. And those 7 things I'm going to share with you in this video. Because we don't want to see a higher number of bipolar people commit suicide. We don't want to see a higher number of anybody commit suicide. And it is the sad reality. That is a risk that bipolar people in particular are faced with at disproportionate rates compared to the rest of the population. And so I'm hoping that in sharing these perspectives and by elaborating on some of the things, recovery goals that I have for myself now, that maybe it could help spread a message of hope and open up more people to find some inspiration and maybe not be too hard on themselves about the process of rebuilding after a manic episode. So the first perspective is understanding this. It's okay to not be okay. What does this mean? This means that you just underwent something so overwhelming, so strenuous, so overpowering, so over-encumbering, that it likely impacted, mostly for the negative, many aspects of your life. And you don't have to change these things immediately. You have time. It's okay to feel bad about what happened. Accepting what has happened is such an important step in moving forward and moving on, which you will do. You have the strength to do it. I believe in you. So it's okay to not be okay. There's nothing wrong with feeling bad. It's a human emotion to feel sad, and what you've gone through is not normal. What you've experienced is something that probably less than 3% of the population will ever experience in their lives, because having bipolar disorder itself is an extremely low probability. And having such a destructive manic episode, it's such a low probability as well because of that. So, and this brings us into the second thing. Give your brain time to recover, and take your time in the recovery process. There's been studies showing that mania can actually cause brain damage, and it can actually destroy gray matter inside of the brain permanently. And so understanding that and treating the brain as if it was like a piece of exercise equipment that needs to be refueled, that needs to be reactivated. You suffered an injury. If somebody who jogs every day falls and breaks their ankle, they're not going to go out the next day and just start running. There's a recovery process to getting that ankle back into shape and to get them back out there running. It's a whole process. The same thing goes true for our brain. So give your brain time to recover. Don't go rush out into doing everything that you were doing before. If you were working full time, if you were, working a second job on top of that. I know there's some crazy hardworking people out there. If you were getting a full-time education, don't go back and do everything you were doing before immediately. Give yourself a chance to recover. Give yourself a chance to catch your breath. That is such an important part. And that brings us into the third thing, and that is depression management. Try to learn how to manage your depression and make time for yourself. Now, what does it mean to manage your depression? Firstly, what does it not mean? What it doesn't mean is eliminate depression. If you can find a way to eliminate depression, then stop this video right now, pack your bags, and get ready, because you're going to be going on a world speaking tour as the world's first trillionaire if you've solved the problem of depression. Solving depression is an unrealistic task. It's arguably an unattainable goal, but it can be managed so that you can still enjoy life again, so that the things that you have diminished interest in as a result of your depression, you can start to restore your interest in those things that used to bring you happiness and joy and a sense of fulfillment. It's possible to be happy again and make time for yourself, whether that be watching a movie or something as simple as, drinking a soda and hanging out with your pet and your animal. Finding comfort in the smaller things is very important. Understand also, and this is number 4 for perspectives on rebuilding after a manic episode, the right path is going to be different for everybody. Everyone's manic episode, even though there may be similarities between any given two, everyone's manic episode manifests differently, and it's going to have different consequences. Those consequences are going to be on a different scale. And, whereas one person might lose their job and education, another person might only lose their education. Or another person might just only lose their job but not their education, and vice versa, and so forth and so forth. There's so many different situations that can occur as a result of a manic episode occurrence. And that's why we all need to understand that the recovery timetable is different for everybody. There's no rush or hurry to get back, on track, so to speak. Focus on yourself. Just because one person was able to recover from a manic episode in 4 months, it doesn't mean that you can or that you should. You should do what's in your best interest as a patient suffering from this mental health disorder. What's in your best interest as a human being to make you happy, to maximize your happiness. In my case, it took me 2 years to get from the point of severe depression to somewhere in between moderate and severe depression after my manic episode. That's an awful large amount of time. And I don't knock myself over it, because what I went through was truly hell. It was chaos on earth. It was hell on earth. And how can I be hard on myself after everything that happened? I lost my job. I lost my education. I lost my friends. I was so cruel to my family and those that I love. And I found myself in complete social isolation. And that's just not something that people normally go through. But it's exactly what I went through. And because I went through that, I know that my path is going to be different. It's not going to be a linear path of recovery of, everything's simple and clear cut. There's things I'm going to have to try and fail, and things that, I'm going to have to give a shot, and that might not amount to anything, but at least I'm making the effort of trying to piece things back together. And that's what rebuilding after a manic episode is all about. Piecing things back together one at a time, or building with a new foundation to whatever extent possible within reason. And this ties into that hugely. And that is the fifth perspective. And that is, small steps add up to become large steps. Every victory is one worth celebrating. And I want to give some examples of some small steps I've taken and how I celebrated them. So when I was in my 2-year depressive episode, there was an extended period of time where I didn't visit family at all. The only time I even left the house was to go to doctor's appointments, psychiatrist appointment, or therapist appointment. Outside of that, my life was completely alienated and completely isolated to the indoors of my apartment complex in Massachusetts. And I took the small step of going to a family gathering at one point during my depressive episode. And that small step, I treated it as a victory because I was moving in the right direction. So as small as it may be, don't minimize your victories. Celebrate them. Realize what you've accomplished. That's a huge thing. If you just go out and have a coffee with a friend, that's a huge thing. If prior to that, you were just isolating to yourself, because we all need sense of belonging. We all need that sense of peer approval. And striving for that is something to be applauded. And actually doing it, that's worth celebrating. Small steps add up to become big steps. I made the small step of starting to walk every day a couple of weeks ago, and I've lost a decent amount of weight from doing that. And as of about a week and a half ago, I started going to the gym. That's another small step that I've made, arguably a big step. But every small step I make on my exercise journey is going to add up to become big steps of progress down the line, something that I can be truly proud of if I keep at it with these small steps. And that brings us into the sixth perspective, and that is recognizing that things will get easier over time. If you've ever heard the saying, time is the best healer, it definitely rings true with my experience, because what I felt most of all after my manic episode was overwhelming feelings of guilt and shame about the things I said, about the things I did during my manic episode. And I remember just being so hard on myself and really beating myself up over these things. And, I can't believe that you accused your own fraternity brothers of being Nazis. I can't believe you went online and spread blasphemy saying that you were the second coming of Jesus. These are things I did. They're unfortunate. They're embarrassing. I still do feel ashamed of them, but not as much as I did when I first came out of my manic episode. Those first few months out of mania, I was much harder on myself, but as time has progressed and as I've been able to gradually move on throughout the void of time, they don't hurt as much as they used to. And that's a good thing. Time is your best ally, right? I promise you things will get easier over time. If you're just coming out of a manic episode, you are not destined to be in that position forever. You are in a temporary state, and I promise you things will get better. And that brings us to the seventh and last perspective. Last but not least, every single day offers the opportunity of a fresh start. If there's anything I've learned from my manic experience, my manic episode, it's that there are roadblocks in life. Boy, are there obstacles in life. A manic episode can be one of them. That was the case for me. And in my depressive episode, it's been no different. There's days where I can't achieve as much as I did the previous day, where I can't read as much, I can't exercise as much, where I don't want to socialize as much, and I kind of just withdraw. There's going to be hard days. There's going to be days that are more challenging mentally than other days. There's going to be days that are more physically challenging than other days, because your psychological and physical well-being are both intertwined. They're connected. But every single day offers the opportunity of a fresh start. So never give up, never lose hope. I don't want to see a higher proportion of bipolar people in that suicide statistic. I want to see that number go down, hopefully in our lifetime. And these 7 perspectives are an excellent way to help alleviate some of the stressors of rebuilding after a manic episode. They're positive perspectives to have on viewing the world. They're ones that I've developed as a coping mechanism myself. And so now, lastly, I want to talk very briefly about some of the things I've been doing, and I've alluded to some of them already, but some of the things I've been doing for my recovery process. One is going to the gym. I've been going for about a week and a half, but before that I was also walking every day. And the endorphin rush you get after an exercise, even if it's just 20 minutes long, it's something that I feel the effects of even going into the next day. And there's a saying that I absolutely love that goes, if the effects of exercise could be prescribed in a bottle, it would be the world's greatest antidepressant. If the effects of exercise could be prescribed in a bottle, it would be the world's greatest antidepressant. I just love that quote because it gives me a sense of empowerment. It makes me feel in control of my own destiny, of my own path, of my own road, of my own travels. Another thing I've been doing in my recovery is YouTube. I've uploaded a video every day this year so far. I think I'm on like a 10 or 11 day upload streak, perhaps a little bit larger than that. And what I like about YouTube is it gives me a chance to share my story. It gives me a chance to vent. It gives me the chance to interact with other people and hear their experiences and stories as well, to see the similarities, to see the differences. And I just appreciate knowing that there's a rest of the world out there and knowing that I'm not alone in what I'm facing. That's the biggest thing. Even when I feel the most isolated, I don't feel alone whenever I do YouTube. And that's why I consider YouTube to be a crucial part of my treatment plan and why I'm going to keep making content for as long as I can, so long as I have a passion for doing it, as long as it doesn't feel like a chore. Right now, it's become a passion, so I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I actually set myself the goal of hitting 500 subscribers this year, and we already went from 252 subscribers on January 1st to 480 on January 10th. So I'm actually going to need a larger goal because I'll be hitting 500 easily this year. Maybe I have to set the goal to 1,000 subs instead. But I'm happy with the direction the channel is going. I really enjoy the interactions I have with all of you, and I appreciate everyone who subs to the channel, everyone who watches the channel. It means the world to me, so thank you so much. And another thing I've been doing for my recovery plan is reading. And I've been doing this to a limited degree. I still don't read as much as I used to, but to be fair, I used to devour books like they were nothing. So I would read like a 300-page book in 2 sittings and one day and be done with the book. So I don't expect myself to read as frequently as I used to anytime soon, but I don't need to read that much to get the sense of joy that I get out of it, to get the sense of satisfaction that I get out of it. As long as I'm reading even just 5 pages a day, it's offering me an escape from the world. And often what I'll do is I'll use these little checkbooks to keep myself on task, and I'll have a line that says read 5 pages. I'll have another one that says walk 30 minutes, and I'll have another one that says film YouTube video. And then as I do those things, I check them off, and it gives me a sense of accomplishment. It keeps me going. That's how you celebrate your small victories. But that's it for today's video, y'all. I've shared with you 7 perspectives for rebuilding after a manic episode. Perspectives that I use, the lens through which I've viewed the world since coming out of mania, that have helped me alleviate stressors and better manage the situations that I'm faced with. And I've also shared some of the recovery goals that I've been taking on as a way to try and expedite the process of rebuilding after my manic episode. And I'm going to leave you with a quote. It's one that I've been utilizing since high school that means a lot to me, and I hope you could find some value in it too. And then with that, we'll end the video. But please hit the subscribe button if you're new here. If you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate you all. Smash the like button, punch kick the like button. You know the deal, so that more people can see this video. But here's the quote for you. It's a quote about persistence, and it's by President Calvin Coolidge. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. My name is Tyler Adolfo. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day.